and welcome to Sri Lanka Morning Show. Ayubowan.
ගාල්ල සංගමිත්තා බාලිකා විද්‍යාලීය ඔස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ ආදිශිෂ්‍ය සංගමය මුල්වරට සංවිධානය කර ඇති සංගමිත් ගෝල්ඩන් බීට්ස් සුහද හමුව නොවැම්බර් මස 15 වෙනි සෙනසුරාදා වොන්ටනාහි හංගේරියන් සෝෂල් ක්ලබ්හිදී රාත්‍රී 7 සිට පැවැත්වේ. වැඩි විස්තර සඳහා අමතන්න හිමානි 0433 471 202 සුමුදු 0431 301 062.
The Voluntary Outreach Club proudly presents New Year's Eve Dinner Dance 2026, 31st December 2025, from 6:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. at Grand on Prince's, Mulgrave. Bands, Ebony, and Hitchhikers. For more details,
Birdie 04149 79483. Anton 04 195 16882.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sam Dasanayaka. I'm an Ayurvedic doctor practicing in Melbourne. And today in this Ayurvedic segment, we will talk about a very useful Ayurvedic herb, turmeric. Turmeric is scientifically known as curcuma longa, an active ingredient is curcumin. Very important. Why? Because only turmeric will have the highest amount of antioxidant in the pharmacopoeia of Ayurveda. In all the Dravaguna Sangraha ingredients, turmeric will have the highest amount of pratioxikaraka, antioxidants. So you need to use it. This will reduce inflammation. This will clean your gut. If you have an abrasion or a cut, first thing you need to do is wash it and put plenty of turmeric and put a small wrap. A day it will heal without a scar. Try it if you haven't tried. And turmeric is the one of the main ingredients in many or if at all Ayurvedic kashayas and arishta. Now if you are not in the practice of using this day in day out, when you are preparing food, you are losing out. Because curcumin tablets people take because of to arthritis, to reduce joint inflammation, and also for your gut health. Add turmeric sufficiently generously in your curry. You can add turmeric when you are cooking rice. So when you are cooking rice, to the water add turmeric, half a teaspoon, and then once the rice is cooked, add some ghee. Curcumin cannot be absorbed in a massive scale because to metabolize, to break down curcumin, you need something from the pepper family. Piper nigrum, just the black pepper, or Piper longum, that is long pepper, hevat pippali. Because it will break down and it will be easy for your body to absorb. Curcumin is equally important for your gut. If there is inflammation in your gut, if there is diverticulitis, if there is even hemorrhoids or ulcer, turmeric will heal it fast. Just like turmeric is used to heal a superficial wound. Now turmeric is also, the Indian practice is that you use turmeric, a pinch of turmeric with some warm milk, and drink it before you go to sleep. This is a Hindu cultural practice. It's also a practice in Ayurveda. If you are having phlegm related issue, you don't have to use milk, you can use water, turmeric water. Very important, your gum health to your gut health. And turmeric using, now there are different varieties of turmeric. Fresh turmeric, amukaha. Acorus calamus, that is vadakaha, vacha. And then there's galangal, again in turmeric family. Alpenia galangal, hingarat, a variety of turmeric. So there are at least 5-6 different varieties of turmeric that we can use in galangal is a very important one. It is used in Malaysian cooking. Gives a very distinguished, very pleasant taste. So use turmeric as often and as much as you can, because it's very important to you. Another medicine is Haridra Khanda. Haridra means haldi, means turmeric. That will reduce your allergic reactions, because it is an antihistamine because of antioxidants. So I hope you will make use of this information and use turmeric, and your turmeric in your cooking and otherwise, haldi tea, haldi water or milk. And until we meet again, Ayubowan.
Today we welcome back a familiar face to our fascinating World of Birds segment. Welcome, Chanith.
Thank you for having me.
Today I thought of asking you about a very common bird species to us Melburnians, the magpie. Would you be able to enlighten us about this bird species, Chanith?
Sure. I quite like magpies, mainly because they're a very good example of what's called subspecies. Are you familiar with the concept of subspecies at all?
Unfortunately, I'm not too familiar with this concept, but would you be able to explain it to me and our viewers at home?
Gladly. So, a subspecies is really what it says on the tin. When you divide an animal into its species, there are subpopulations of this species which exhibit different characteristics. We term these subspecies if they're genetically different enough, but not quite genetically different enough to make them species. Now with magpies, Victoria has two main subspecies, the white-backed magpie in the south and the black-backed magpie in the north. With hybrids between the two, instead of seeing the back being fully white or fully black, there'll be a sliver of white, more or less depending on how much white-backed magpie is in the bird, and then a section of the back will still be black. Because of this, it's very obvious to see hybrids, because the back is pretty easy to notice. This is particularly interesting to me, as I often drive north in Victoria for bird watching reasons, and when you drive north, you see the white-backed magpies along the roadside slowly give way to more and more hybrids, and then more and more black-backed as you enter their territory. It just interests me a lot, and it makes the long drives a bit less monotonous.
Do these two subspecies exhibit different behavioural patterns, or is it more the same?
It's pretty much the same. I believe even the calls are the same. It's the same fluty, melodious song that you're probably all very used to.
So in Melbourne, as you might know, magpies are very famous for swooping. What would you be able to tell us about that?
Well, magpies, to be honest, I've always thought they get a bit of a bad reputation for that. I personally have never been swooped by a magpie. I know, somehow.
Very lucky you are.
Yes. But the main thing is they're doing it to try and defend their nests. So one particularly good tip I've heard is that if you keep your eyes on a magpie as you walk past its nest, it usually gets a bit too worried to dive bomb you, or if it does, it won't connect.
Have you tried that yourself? Is that a
Yes,
myth or legend?
I mean, it's what I always do if I see a nesting magpie, and so far I haven't been swooped, so there you go.
Lucky.
I heard also, although I've never seen anyone do this, that some cyclists at one point would paste fake eyes, like little eye-shaped markings on the back of their helmets, and that this, well, according to the story I read, it worked, but I have no clue if it actually works or if it's something that anyone nowadays even does.
Of course.
I guess it's worth a shot.
Of course. I've also seen cyclists have the spiky tags on their helmets. Is that an effective method to prevent being swooped?
I've never actually seen, I honestly haven't seen that before, so I'm not sure either.
I'm sure all our viewers at home may have some more questions about these famous magpies that they'd like to ask our bird enthusiast Chanith over here. However, that does bring us to the end of our segment today. Thank you so much for joining with us again and sharing your insightful knowledge with us and our viewers at home.
Thank you for your kind words.
See you again next week on our segment, Fascinating World of Birds.
Easy Hose spring sale is now on. Upgrade your garden reels and sprays today and save. Save on quality garden sprays. Save up to 30% on Australian-made Easy Hose garden reels. Stocks are limited.
Sanji Caldera Associates. With our headquarters based in Melbourne, Australia, you can locate our branch offices in Sri Lanka, Dubai, Canada and London, UK. Some of our services include skilled migration visa, family migration visa, employer sponsorship visa, temporary resident visa, business visa, tourist visa, student visa, administrative appeals tribunal review. Pursuit of excellence through tailored solutions.
The science of life, traditionally known as the Ayurveda. Consultations, diagnosis and treatments are done by fully qualified Ayurvedic practitioner Dr. Sam Dasanai. Sahandro Ayurvedic Center, best wellness experience.
Looking to buy a new hose reel but confused over quality? And you want to buy a locally made hose reel? Look for the genuine Australian-made AK Reels hose reels. Heavy-duty Australian design and patent. Using Australian-made hoses that last. By AK Reels, the Australian-made hose reels.
Abacus Solar, latest and reliable solar systems, world best panels and inverters, price beat guarantee, supervised system installation, excellent after sales service. Call 1300 852 843.
News Weekly is brought to you by Ezdan, a trimmer company, the hose specialist. Ezdan Plastics Proprietary Limited, 525 to 527 Hammond Road, Dandenong South.
අයිබෝවන් සතියේ ප්‍රධාන ප්‍රවෘත්ති ප්‍රකාශ සමගින් මම තුෂාර ප්‍රනාන්දු. මුලින්ම අවධානය ප්‍රධාන ප්‍රවෘත්ති සිරස්තල වෙතට. අයහපත් කාලගුණය නිසා ජලාශ රැසක් වාන් දමයි. අක්මීමන නිවසක පවත්වාගෙන ගිය කුෂ් වගාවක් වටලයි. බෙලරුස් ජාතිකයෙකු අත්අඩංගුවට. අත්අඩංගුවට ගත් ඉෂාරා සෙව්වන්දිට නවාතැන් දුනි වැලිපැන්නේ කාන්තාව අධිකරණය හමුවට. කලාවේ ජලකඳ මැද විල්පත්වේ සිර වූ සංචාරකින් 30ක් මුදාගන්න. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ යොවුන් මෝටර රථ 10ක යෙවන් ඩේවිඩ්ට ඓතිහාසික ජයක්. දිවයිනේ බොහෝ ප්‍රදේශවලට බලපා ඇති වැසි තත්ත්වය තව දවස් කිහිපයක් අපේක්ෂා කරන බව කාලගුණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව පවසනවා. ඒ අනුව බස්නාහිර සබරගමුව මධ්‍යම ඌව වයඹ දකුණු සහ උතුරු පළාත් සඳහා මිලිමීටර 100ට වැඩි තද වැසි ඇතිවිය හැකි බව වාර්තා වෙනවා.
ඊසානදිග මෝසම ක්‍රමයෙන් සක්‍රිය වීම සහ බෙන්ගාල බොක්ක ආශ්‍රිත ප්‍රදේශයේ වර්ධනය වන කැළඹිලි ස්වභාවය හේතුවෙන් දිවයිනේ බොහෝ ප්‍රදේශවලට වැසි ඇදහැලමින් පවතිනවා. ගෙවුණු පැය 24 තුළ මිලිමීටර 142.4ක් වන වැඩිම වර්ෂාපතනය ලැබී ඇත්තේ පාදුක්ක ප්‍රදේශයටයි. රාවණ දිය ඇල්ලේ පෝෂක ප්‍රදේශවලට හටගත් තද වැසි සමග එම දිය ඇල්ලේ ජලපහර ප්‍රචණ්ඩ ස්වභාවයෙන් පහළට ඇදහැලෙන ආකාරයයි මේ. මේ සමග රාවණාදිය ඇල්ලේ දියනෑම හෝ ඒ අසලට ගොස් ඡායාරූප ගැනීම සිදු නොකරන්නේ දිස්ත්‍රික් ආපදා කළමනාකරණ ඒකකයේ ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. මේ අතර වර්ෂා සමයේ පමණක් දිස්වන හඟුරංකෙත ප්‍රදේශයේදී ඇලි කිහිපයක්ම මේ දිනවල දිස්වනවා. මේ එලෙස මේ දිනවල සක්‍රිය වී ඇති මතුරට ප්‍රදේශයෙන් ඇදහැලෙන මලපට්ටාවදිය ඇල්ලයි.
පළාත් සභා ඡන්ද විමසීම සඳහා සමගි ජනබලවේගයත් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් නිසක වශයෙන්ම එක්ව ලැයිස්තුවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන බව පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී අජිත් පී පෙරේරා මහතා පවසනවා. ඒ ඇතුළුව ඡන්ද විමසීම පිළිබඳ මහජන නියෝජිතයින් කිහිප දෙනෙක් පළ කළ අදහස් කිහිපයක් වෙතයි මේ අවධානය.
ලබන වසරේ පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම එනවා. අපි ජාතික ජනබලවේගයේ විදියට අපට තියෙනවා හොඳ දේශපාලන පරිචයක්. ඒක භාවිත කරමින් අපි මේ රට ගොඩනගමින් ඉන්නවා කියන එක අපට විශ්වාසයි. ඉතින් මේ මැතිවරණයේ තිබ්බත් අපි හොඳටම දන්නවා මේ මැතිවරණයෙන් විපක්ෂය කුල්ල කූජුතු වෙන්න පරාදේ වෙනවා කියන එක දන්නවා.
ආණ්ඩුව බය නැහැ කියලා පිළිවුවට ආණ්ඩුවට අද යලයි මහයි දෙකම ගිහිලා තියෙන්නේ රෙද්ද පල්ලෙන් ඔවුන්ගේ දේශපාලන බොරුව නිසා. මොකද ඔවුන්ට වැඩ කරේ ඔවුන්ව ගොඩනගාවේ මේ රටේ උගතුන් නියතුන් බුද්ධිමතු. අද උගතා වියතා බුද්ධිමතා මහපාර යනකොට මේ ජාත්‍යන්තරයේ ගිහිල්ලා නාගන්න විදියයි ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්ති පිළිබඳව කරන වැඩපිළිවෙලයි රටේ ජනතාවට කියන බොරු ටිකයි දැක්කම මම හිතනවා මේ ආණ්ඩුව පරවා හැරීමේ පළවෙනි වෙඩිමර මේ පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණයෙන් තියන්න අවශ්‍ය වැඩපිළිවෙල.
සාම්ප්‍රදායික විපක්ෂය සිහින දකිමින් යම් යම් මතවාදයන් හදමින් ඉන්නවා. තාම ගත වුණේ අවුරුද්දයි. තව ජනාධිපතිවරයට අවුරුදු 4ක් තිබෙනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කාල සීමාව තව අවුරුදු 4ක් තිබෙනවා. මේ යන විදිහට අපිට දැනෙනවා අර හැමදාම බොරු මතවාද හදලා පාලන බලය අත්පත් කරගන්න උත්සාහ කරමින් ඉන්න උදවියට මේ අවුරුදු 4 අවසන් වෙනකොට අඩුම තරමින් අපේක්ෂකයෙක්වත් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් කමක් ලැබෙයිද කියන සැකය අපිට තියෙනවා.
පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණ රටට අවශ්‍යයි, ජනතාවට අවශ්‍යයි. ජනතාවගේ මුදල් සාධාරණව වියදම් කිරීම සඳහා මහජන නියෝජිතයන්ගේ සහාය අත්‍යවශ්‍යයි. ඒ නිසා පළාත් සභාව එනවා. පළාත් සභාව සඳහා අපි සමග ජන බලවේගයත් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් නිසක ලෙසම එකමුතු ලයිස්තුවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
ජනතාවට සිය උත්සාහයෙන් දියුණු විය හැකි පසුබිමක් රට තුළ නිර්මාණය කිරීමේ සැලැස්ම සර්ව ජන බලය සතුව පවතින බව එහි නායක පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී දිලිත් ජයවීර මහතා පවසනවා. ඔහු මේ අදහස් පළ කළේ ගාල්ල වලහන්දුව ප්‍රදේශයේ සර්ව ජන සභා පිහිටුවීමේ වැඩසටහනකට එක්වෙමින්.
ගාල්ල අක්මීමන ආසනයේ වලහන්දුව කොට්ටාසය සර්වජන සභා පිහිටුවීම සර්වජන බලයේ නායක පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී දිලිත් ජයවීර මහතාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් සිදු කෙරුණා.
සර්වජන සභා අපි හදනවා. අපි ගමට එනවා. ඔබගේ හැඟීම් දැනීම් වෙනස් කරලා අපි කියනවා නව මගක් තියෙනවා. කොරියාව කියලා පළාතේවත් යන්න එපා කියපු ප්‍රදේශ තිබුණානේ අපේ ගම්වල නගරේ. දැන් අපි විභාග ලියලා යනවා කොරියාවේ. කොරියාව දියුණු වුණා. කොහොමද ව්‍යවසායකත්ව රාජ්‍ය. ඉතින් අපි ආශ්වාසුම 2500 ගන්න. බෝලුමේ පස්සෙන් ගිහිල්ලා. ඒ 2500 හම්බුණ කවුරු හරි ඉන්නව නම් ගෙදර ගිහිල්ලා ගණන් හදන්න බඩු මිල. ඔබට ආශ්වාසුම දීලා තියෙන්නේ ඒකටත් බද්ද ගහලා අතට ගානක් ගත්තට යටින් පිප් පොකට් එක ගහනවා. ඒක තමයි මෙතන යන වැඩේ. ඔබ ඔබේ ආත්ම ශක්තියෙන් නැගිටින දේශපාලනයක් මේ මහ පොළොවේ හදන්නට ඕන. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ කාලකන්ණි දේශපාලනය විසින් ඔබ තවදුරටත් දරිද්‍ර කරනවා විනා ඔබට කවදාකවත් මෙතනින් නැගිටින්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ගමත් හදාගෙන රටත් හදාගෙන යන දේශපාලනයක් සදා සර්වජන සභා සමග හිට ගන්න සර්වජන බලය ඔබට ආදරයෙන් සෙනෙහසෙන් ගෞරවයෙන් එක්ව කටයුතු කරනවා ඇති.
සෑම දිනාටම වැදගත් වන්නේ සමාජයේ ජීවත් වන ආකාරය මිස එක්රැස් කරගන්නා දේවල් නොවන බව අගරදගුරු අතිඋතුම් මැල්කම් කාදිනල් රංජිත් හිමිපාණන් පවසනවා. උන්වහන්සේ මේ බව කියා සිටියේ කළුතර දොඩන්ගොඩ ප්‍රදේශයේ කතෝලික දේවස්ථානයක දේවමෙහෙකට එක්වෙමි.
දොඩන්ගොඩ සපුගහපත්තේ සාන්ත ජරාල්ඩ් මැජෙල්ලා දේවස්ථානයේ සියවෙනි ජුබිලි සැමරුමට සමගාමීව පැවති දිව්‍ය පූජාව අද උදෑසන අගරාධිගුරු අතිඋතුම් මැල්කම් කාදිනල් රංජිත් හිමිපාණන්ගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් පැවැත්වුණා.
ඉතින් ආදරණීය සහෝදර සහෝදරියනි, අපි මේ ජුබිලි උත්සවයේ පවත්වලා මේ පල්ලි හදලා වැඩක් නැහැ. මේවා ගොඩනැගිලි විතරයි. අපි හැදෙන්නට ඕනේ ඔක්කොන්ටම ඉස්සෙල්ලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ජීවිතේම වැඩක් නැහැ. ඕක තිබිලා නැතුව යනවා. මේ ලෝකේ අපි එකතු කරන කිසි දෙයක් අරන් යන්න බෑනේ. මට මතකයි මම පල්ලියක ඉන්නකොට ඒ දවස්වල ගියා එක දවසක් එක ගෙදරක මිනිහෙක් මැරිලා. එයාගේ නෝනා පපුවට ගහ ගන්නවා, විලාප තියෙනවා, මම අද උඹත් එක්ක වලට පැනලා මැරෙනවා, සයිමන් අයියේ කිය පපුවට ගහ ගන්නවා මෙයා. ඉතින් මම කිව්වා මේ පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න, නිශ්ශබ්ද වෙන්න කියලා. දැන් ඉතින් කොහොම හරි ආශිර්වාද කරලා මිනිහ පෙට්ටිය වහන්න යනකොට ඒ අර පළට පයින්නවා කියපු ගෑනු කෙනාම නැමිලා අර මිනිස්සයාගේ ඇඟිල්ලේ තියෙන රත්තරන් මුද්ද ගලව ගත්තේ නැද්ද? ඒක ගෙනියන්න දුන්නෙත් නැහැ. වලට පයින්නවා කියපු එක්කෙනා තමයි මුද්ද ගලව ගත්තේ. ඉතින් එකක්වත් අරන් යන්න හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. සේරම තියලා යන්න ඕනේ. එහෙමනම් අද සමාජයේ තියෙන්නේ පරිභෝජනවාදය. සුපර් මාකට් එකට යනවා සමහර අය. ගිහිල්ලා අර කරත්තයක් උස්සගෙන යනවා ඇතුළට. ඕනේ කරන දේත් ඕනේ කරන්නේ නැති දේත් දාගෙන ඇවිල්ලා ෆ්‍රිජ් එකේ දාලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ටික කාලයක් ගිහලා ඔයිසි කරලා දානවා. නැත්තම් මේ ගෑනු උදවිය යනවා ෆැෂන් ඔක්කොම යනවා රෙදි කඩවලට. රෙදි කඩවලට නත්තල් කාලේ එනකොට සිංහල අවුරුද්ද එනකොට පොලිම අරන් ඇවිල්ලා අල්මාරියේ දාලා තියෙනවා. කවදාවත් පාවිච්චි කරන්නෙත් නැහැ. මේකට තමයි කියන්නේ පරිභෝජනවාදය කියලා. අද සමාජයේ අපිට තියෙන්නේ අන්න ඒක තමයි දෙන්නේ ඉලක්කයේ හැටියට ජීවිතේ. පුළුවන් තරම් එකතු කරන්න. කිසි දෙයක් අරන් යන්න බෑ. හදිස්සියෙ එන්න පුළුවන් කැඳවීම. ක්‍රිස්තු වර්ෂ 2150 වෙනකොට මෙතන ඉන්න එක්කෙනෙක්වත් ජීවතුන් අතර නැහැ. ඒක මතක තියාගන්න.
ගාල්ල අක්මීමන ප්‍රදේශයේ නිවසක බෙලරුස් ජාතිකයෙකු මීට මාස කිහිපයකට පෙර සිට නවාතැන්ගෙන තිබුණේ කුලි පදනම මතයි. ඔහු අදාළ නිවසට මාසිකව රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 1.5 මුදලක් ගෙවා තිබුණා. පොලිසියට ලැබුණු තොරතුරකට අනුව කළ වැටලීමකදී අදාළ නිවසේ කාමර දෙකක් තුළ සූක්ෂමව පවත්වාගෙන ගිය කුෂ් වගාව මෙලෙස සොයාගෙන තිබුණා. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට පැමිණෙන විදේශිකයන්ට අලෙවි කිරීම සඳහා ඔහු කුෂ් වගාව කර ඇති බවයි ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම්වලදී අනාවරණය වී තිබුණේ.
ගාල්ල අක්මීමන ප්‍රදේශයේ පිහිටි නිවසක බෙලරුස් ජාතිකයෙකු මීට මාස කිහිපයකට පෙර සිට නවාතැන්ගෙන තිබුණේ කුලිය පදනම මතයි. ඔහු අදාළ නිවසට මාසිකව රුපියල් ලක්ෂ 1.5 මුදලක් ගෙවා තිබුණා. පොලිසියට ලැබුණු තොරතුරකට අනුව කළ වැටලීමකදී අදාළ නිවසේ කාමර දෙකක් තුළ සූක්ෂමව පවත්වාගෙන ගිය කුෂ් වගාව මෙලෙස සොයාගනු ලැබුවා. මෙරටට පැමිණෙන විදේශිකයන්ට අලෙවි කිරීම සඳහා ඔහු කුෂ් වගා කර ඇති බවයි ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම්වලදී අනාවරණ වී ඇත්තේ. අදාළ විදේශිකයා ගාල්ල දිසා අපරාධ කොට්ටාසය මගින් අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන තිබෙනවා. වැඩිදුර විමර්ශන දකුණු පළාත භාර ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ නියෝජ්‍ය පොලිස්පති කිට්ස්රි ජයරත් මහතාගේ උපදෙස් මත ගාල්ල දිසා අපරාධ කොට්ටාසය අධ්‍යක්ෂ සහකාර පොලිස් අධිකාරී නාමල් පෙරේරා මහතා විසින් සිදු කරනු ලබනවා.
කලින් කලට පාලකයන් අතට බලය හුමාරුවද ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ගොවි ජනතාවට මුහුණ දීමට සිදු වූ ගැටලු සඳහා
කිසිදු විසඳුමක් ලබා දීමට කිසිවෙකුටත් හැකියාවක් ලැබී නැහැ. බඩඉරිඟු ගොවීන්ද මෙවර මහ කන්නේත් සුපුරුදු පරිදි ගැටලු රැසක් හේතුවෙන් අසරණ වී සිටිනවා.
අනුරාධපුර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ ගලන් බිඳුනෝ ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කොට්ටාසයට අයත් ගම්මාන රැසක ජනතාව වී වගාවට අමතරව හේන් ගොවිතැනද සැලකිය යුතු ලෙස සිදු කරනවා. ඒ අතරින් බඩේරුඟු වගාව ප්‍රමුඛයි. සෑම වර්ෂයක්ම පාහේ මෙවරත් බඩේරුඟු වගා කිරීම මේ වන විට ආරම්භ කර ඇති නමුත් වෙළඳ පොලේ බඩේරුඟු බීජ පොහොර සහ කෘෂි රසායනික ද්‍රව්‍ය ඉහළ යාම හේතුවෙන් ගොවීන් අන්ත අසරණ තත්ත්වයකටයි පත්ව ඇත්තේ. ගලන් බිඳුනෝ ප්‍රාදේශීය ලේකම් කොට්ටාසයේ පමණක් ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී කොට්ටාස 42ක් ආවරණය වෙන අක්කර විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක බඩිරුඟු වගා කිරීම ආරම්භ කර ඇති අතර මෙම ගැටලුව ගොවීන්ගේ ජීවනෝපායට රුජුවම බලපා තිබෙනවා.
මේ වෙනකොට බීජ අපි ආරම්භ කරනකොට රුපියල් 1500 2200 ගත්ත බඩිරුඟු බීජ පැකට් එක දැන් මේ වෙනකොට රුපියල් 19000ක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේක 85යි පැලුමේ පෙසතේ තියෙන්නේ. හිත වනවා නම් අක්කරයකට කිලෝ 7ක් 8ක් විතර වුණා. එහෙන් බලනකොට රුපියල් 30000කට වැඩි මුදලක් ඒ ගන්නවා.
දැන් දෙකට බඩිරුඟු පැකට් එක හවස 4 වෙනකොට ඉවරයි කියනවා. ගොවිය පෝලිං වල. ගොවිය කීය හරි දිල්ල බඩිරුඟුකට පැකට් එක ගන්නලි බලන්න. ඒක දන්නව කළු කඩකාරය.
රජයේ පැත්තෙන් මුත් අපිට එහෙම සහයෝගයක් නැහැ. මොකද මේ බීජවල ගාන ඒ විදිහමයි තෙල් පොහොරවල තමයි හැම පැත්තෙම අපි අසරණ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ අපිට මුකුත් එපා. ගොවියට තහනක් දෙන්න තමයි අපිට අපි හිතුවා මේ කට්ටියත් ඇවිල්ලා වැඩක් කරගන්න කියලා දෙයි අපිට කියලා.
ලොකු කම්පැනි තමයි ඉතින් ඔයගෙන් හම්බ කරගන්නේ. අපිට තියෙන තුට්ටු දෙකයි. ඒකෙන් දරුවෝ ඉස්කෝලේ යවන්න ඕන, අපි ජීවත් වෙන්න ඕන. අපිට සමහරලාට ඇඳ ගන්න වස්ත්‍රයක් ගන්න නැහැ.
බඩිරුඟු ගොවීන් මොහොන පා සිටින මෙම ගැටලු සම්බන්ධයෙන් බලධාරීන් මැදිහත්ව කඩිනම් විසඳුම් ලබා නොදුනහොත් ඒ ආශ්‍රිත සිසු නිෂ්පාදන වලට එල්ලවන බලපෑමෙහි අතුරුඵල මෙරට සියලු ජනතාවට අත්විඳීමට සිදුවනු නොඅනුමානයි. මේ අතර කන්තලේ බඩිරුඟු වගාවන්ට සේනා දළඹු හානිය පැතිර යාම හේතුවෙන් බඩිරුඟු ගොවීන් දැඩි දුෂ්කරතාවට පත්ව සිටිනවා. කන්තලේ අග්බෝපුර, ජයන්තිපුර, සීනිපුර වැනි ප්‍රදේශවල බඩිරුඟු වගාව ජීවන වෘත්තිය කරගත් ගොවීන්ගේ මෙවර වගාව සේනා දළඹු ඕදුර හේතුවෙන් සැලකිය යුතු ලෙස විනාශ වී තිබෙනවා.
ගණේ මුල්ල සංජීව ඝාතනයෙන් අනතුරුව ඉෂාරා සෙව්වන්දිට නවාතැන් ලබා දුන් මතුගම වැලිපැන්න නිවසේ හිමිකාරිය ඔක්තෝබර් මාස 24 වෙනිදා දක්වා රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගත කිරීමට මහේස්ත්‍රාත් අධිකරණය නියම කර තිබෙනවා.
ඇය කොළඹ මහේස්ත්‍රාත් අධිකරණය වෙත ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමෙන් පසුව ඔක්තෝබර් 24 වෙනිදා දක්වා රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගත කෙරුණා. අදාළ කාන්තාව පසුගිය පළාත් පාලන ඡන්දයට කොස්ගෙඩිය ලකුණින් ඉදිරිපත් වූ අයෙක්. පොලිසිය පවසන්නේ ඇගේ පුත්‍රයා දැනට ඩුබායි වල සැඟව සිටින මතුගම සුද්දා නැමැති අපරාධවලට සම්බන්ධ අයෙකු බවයි. ඉෂාරා මෙරට සැඟව සිටි කාලේ ඇගේ ආහාර පානවලට වියදම් කර ඇත්තේ ඔහු බවට පොලිසිය තොරතුරු අනාවරණය කරගෙන තිබෙනවා.
මේ සමගින් අදට නියමිත සතියේ ප්‍රධාන ප්‍රවෘත්ති ප්‍රකාශ නිමාවට පත්වෙනවා. මෙම ප්‍රවෘත්ති ප්‍රකාශ නැවත නැරඹීමට ශ්‍රී ලංකා Morning Show YouTube channel එක වෙතට යොමු වන්න. ඔබ සැමට සුවදායි සතියක්. ආයුබෝවන්. Abacus Solar, latest and reliable solar systems, world best panels and inverters, price beat guarantee, supervised system installation, excellent after sales service. Call 1300 852 843.
Easy Hose Spring Sale is now on. Upgrade your garden reels and sprays today and save. Save on quality garden sprays. Save up to 30% on Australian made Easy Hose garden reels. Stocks are limited.
Sanji Caldera Associates. With our headquarters based in Melbourne, Australia, you can locate our branch offices in Sri Lanka, Dubai, Canada and London, UK. Some of our services include skilled migration visa, family migration visa, employer sponsorship visa, temporary resident visa, business visa, tourist visa, student visa, administrative appeals tribunal review. Pursuit of excellence through tailored solutions.
The science of life, traditionally known as the Ayurveda. Consultations, diagnosis and treatments are done by fully qualified Ayurvedic practitioner Dr. Sam Dasanai. Sahandro Ayurvedic Center, best wellness experience.
Looking to buy a new hose reel but confused over quality? And you want to buy a locally made hose reel? Look for the genuine Australian-made AK Reels hose reels. Heavy-duty Australian design and patent. Using Australian-made hoses that last. By AK Reels, the Australian-made hose reels.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our segment. A smile is the simplest way to keep yourself happy. And today we are here in Glen Smiles Dental Clinic in Glen Waverley. Joining with us is Dr. Sachin Gamage. Hello doctor, how are you?
Hi, nice to be here again.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining with us today. So today we are going to talk about a very important topic that we used to hear within our friends, within our family and even in the society. But most of the time, people don't talk about the things that you can do to prevent it. So doctor, today we are going to talk about bad breath. So doctor, most of people get asked about their bad breath. Can you explain us what causes it?
So bad breath can be caused by a number of things. One would be dental issues. So sometimes if people have dental issues, that can cause that. Also, sometimes it can come from the tongue, but it can also come from the stomach or even the sinuses or the throat. I would say like most of the time it's good to see if you have any issues with your dental sort of issues that may be causing it as an initial point, and then we can see if that's not the cause, what else might be causing it.
Yeah. So doctor, I hear like many people talking about this in the society and they feel embarrassed about it. As humans, is it normal to have bad breath?
I would say it's common to have it. It's not like sort of an uncommon thing. And we do get asked about it relatively often at the dental clinics. So people do come in and ask about that. I'd say sometimes it can be as simple as having some gum issues and things like that that could be resolved. Sometimes if you have a cavity that's not treated, that can cause some bad breath or a dental infection. If that's not the cause, sometimes it could be coming from your tongue. So sometimes people have bacteria on their tongue that can cause bad breath. So we can give you some oral hygiene tips on addressing that. Sometimes having dry mouth is quite common. So people that don't drink enough water or if hydration is the issue, that could be a problem. And there are sometimes issues in the stomach and things like that that could cause the issue. But it's not a bad idea to sort of bring it up with your dentist so they can give advice on what might be causing it.
Yeah. So what does it mean if you have bad breath?
It means most likely it's coming from sort of bacteria that's in your mouth that's causing the bad breath. So it's a matter of getting rid of that bacteria. So if it's coming from your gums, you know, sometimes having your gums sort of cleaned well and then the dentist giving you some tips may get rid of that issue. If it's coming from the tongue, we can address that as well. Sometimes it can be diet as well, you know, like some foods cause bad breath because the actual food has a bad smell. So that could be dietary change. And if not, like, you know, there could be other things that are outside the mouth, like your stomach or sinuses, where the GP could help. So there is different ways that it can be treated.
Yeah. So what can people do to improve bad breath?
Yeah, I think addressing the underlying cause would be the best thing to do, because if it's caused by a dental problem or whatever it may be caused by, addressing that would be the ideal thing. And then apart from that, good oral hygiene, using, I guess in this case, like a mouthwash or like a breath mint may help. But again, those things sort of mask the issue if not addressing the underlying problem. So it's good to get some professional advice and then see what the reason might be for it.
Yeah. So do you think, like, while getting professional advice, is it safe to use a mouthwash or a mint for like day-to-day life when we...
I don't think it's harmful in any way. Like most mouthwashes, as long as you're not overusing it, it's okay. Like we've mentioned in previous segments, just have to be aware of the alcohol content in the mouthwash. Breath mints are usually fine. There's no real harm in using it. I would say like the only thing to check would be if there's sugar in the breath mint. Most of the time there probably won't be, but that's something to check because you don't want to have too much exposure to sugar, but it is fine to use that. So if you have like, I don't know, like a meeting or you're concerned about your bad breath, you can use it beforehand. But again, it's good to address the underlying cause, what might be causing it. I think hydration is something that's important. So hydration is something people can do to sort of make sure their mouth is not dry and things like that. So.
From healthy habits to confident smiles. Thank you very much, Dr. Sachin Gamage, for sharing your valuable insights with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
And I think bad breath is really common among humans and in the society, so it's not something that we need to be embarrassed of. But as Dr. Sachin Gamage said, there are some things we can improve bad breath. We can do to improve bad breath and continue to be confident and keep smiling. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Very good morning to all of you. My name is Professor Tissa Vijayaratna, neurologist from Melbourne, Australia. Delighted to have this conversation on brain health. Today I'm going to talk about another young gentleman that I had been managing for over 7-8 years now with a syndrome of epilepsy, which was under very good control for about 8 years, but recently we had seen some changes, and I thought that I would use some of this information to enlighten you and raise your awareness to show you why it is very important for us to diagnose the correct epileptic syndrome or correct epilepsy subtype to use the most appropriate treatment. Now, when I met this young man earlier on, let's say 8 years ago, what this gentleman had was what is known as generalized tonic-clonic seizures. So the story that I could gather as best as I could at that time was that this young man at the age of 18, he would generate or he would lose consciousness and generate stiffening of his arms and legs and lose consciousness and fall to the floor. And he had 3 of these events when we met for the first time. My initial impression at that time, having spent about 45 minutes to 1 hour gathering the best story that I could gather from this young man and his parents, was that I was dealing with what is known as generalized epilepsy syndrome. In fact, I felt that this gentleman was having what is known as juvenile myoclonic epilepsy. Now, you may recall that last week we talked about the way that brain works with electrical activity, and when we suspect a generalized epileptic syndrome, that means the person who is suffering from that epilepsy subtype is made to this world genetically to generate abnormal electrical activity from the entire brain more easily, so that when the conditions meet, they come up with this exaggerated electrical activity which manifests to the outside with stiffening of arms, stiffening of legs, and then frothing coming from mouth, sometimes biting their tongue, etc. Usually these sort of a generalized seizure activity lasts few seconds and then they recover fully, and sometimes these people can have few more seconds of brief confusion, which is known as post-ictal phase in epilepsy. In juvenile myoclonic epilepsy, which is a genetic condition, we know the genetic abnormality also. They basically study well and they can live fully normal life, and the seizures can be very well controlled with exceptionally good medication that we have. They also have sort of a jerkiness in early hours of the morning. Sometimes when they reach out to the toothbrush or when they try to reach out to a cup of tea or plate, they might drop that with that shakiness. This is not a jerk as such, sort of slight shake that usually see in early morning times. While I could not elicit this particular fact from this young man, I felt that this is the subtype that was fitting in well with him. So over next couple of years, with the treatment that we were giving him, his seizures were under good control. But earlier in the year, now he is studying in a university, he did tell me that there were moments where he would momentarily lose the awareness of the conversation that he was having or activity that he was doing at uni or with his friends for few seconds. Most of the time the lapse is so short that the outsiders couldn't pick this up. But I told you that this young man is quite a bright boy, and he picked this up, and he did tell me that he was experiencing these events without having any other activity. So we wanted to relook at the diagnosis, and I had a long chat with him, and I said to him that while I have been treating him for a generalized epilepsy syndrome for the last 8 years, while the electrical activity appeared to be under good control, I wasn't particularly enjoying what I was hearing, and it was necessary for us to go back to the drawing board and see whether the electrical activity changes or the changes in electrical activity is actually having a focal onset. Now, this is a bit tricky just by talking to the patient. We did multiple brain MRI scans. We couldn't see any abnormalities on this gentleman's brain MRI scans. It wasn't sensitive enough to pick up any focal electrical abnormality as such. So what we did then is we negotiated with a different public hospital in the city and organized this young man to stay as an inpatient for a period of 1 week while he was hooked up to an electroencephalography machine throughout the entire week. As you could imagine, we collected data of brainwave recording over a 1 week period, and then we reduced the medication that we were giving him during that week also, so that we could reduce the threshold of electrical activity being generated if he were to have one of these episodes. He had 6 of these short momentary lapses of space or awareness, and we were able to capture electrical abnormalities in the brain in all 6 occasions. We were able to figure out that some of the electrical changes were occurring at the right temporal area of the brain. I will show you a picture of right temporal area of the brain after this video so that you can get that into your head, and some of the electrical activity were starting from the opposite temporal area of the brain. Now with this new information, we change his type of epilepsy from genetic generalized epilepsy to temporal lobe epilepsy. At this point of time, both sides of the temporal lobes appear to be generating this electrical activity, and I also change his medications a bit, and I'm hoping that this would help me to give his life back and control his seizures completely. So the idea of sharing this story without giving you too much personal information is to raise awareness that epilepsy is a treatable disorder, but it is very important to keep ourselves well grounded and keep asking questions and making sure that we actually get the diagnosis right. Now, while I didn't get the diagnosis right 8 years ago with the available information at that time, we were still able to manage his seizures better. But when the new information come on board as he was growing older, you need to go back to the drawing board and keep asking questions and keep using appropriate tests to make the diagnosis. Again, there's no health without brain health. Love your brain, exercise your brain, look after your brain, and we'll see you again next week with another segment to learn a bit more about brain health. Take care.
Abacus Solar, latest and reliable solar systems, world best panels and inverters, price beat guarantee, supervised system installation, excellent after sales service. Call 1300 852 843.
Easy Hose spring sale is now on. Upgrade your garden reels and sprays today and save. Save on quality garden sprays. Save up to 30% on Australian-made Easy Hose garden reels. Stocks are limited.
Sanji Caldera Associates. With our headquarters based in Melbourne, Australia, you can locate our branch offices in Sri Lanka, Dubai, Canada and London, UK. Some of our services include skilled migration visa, family migration visa, employer sponsorship visa, temporary resident visa, business visa, tourist visa, student visa, administrative appeals tribunal review. Pursuit of excellence through tailored solutions.
The science of life, traditionally known as the Ayurveda. Consultations, diagnosis and treatments are done by fully qualified Ayurvedic practitioner Dr. Sam Dasanai. Sahandro Ayurvedic Centre, best wellness experience.
Looking to buy a new hose reel but confused over quality? And you want to buy a locally made hose reel? Look for the genuine Australian-made AK Reels hose reels. Heavy-duty Australian design and patent. Using Australian-made hoses that last. By AK Reels, the Australian-made hose reels. Looking to buy a new hose reel but confused over quality? And you want to buy a locally made hose reel? Look for the genuine Australian-made AK Reels hose reels. Heavy-duty Australian design and patent. Using Australian-made hoses that last. By AK Reels, the Australian-made hose reels.
Hi everyone. Today we have Mr. Sanji Caldera from Sanji Caldera Associates to talk about the state sponsorships open in Australia. So I think we are going to discuss different state sponsorships currently available in Australia and how that the applicants apply for these state sponsorships. Sanji, first of all, we would like to welcome you back to Sri Lanka Morning Show program.
Yes, morning Tushar.
Can you tell us what is this state sponsorship and who is eligible to apply for the state sponsorships?
Yes, so we know what we call general skill migration. So that's the main way that applicants can come to Australia on a permanent residency based on their skills. So there are certain visa categories. Some we call it independent category and some we call state sponsored category. So what state sponsored category means, each of the states in Australia are given a certain quota by the central government, the federal government. Now, what then the state governments will do, they will do their own research in their state, find out the skill shortages and find out what occupations where the employment is, and they will invite and give the opportunity for the applicants to be sponsored by the state, which will result in an invitation, and that invitation then converts into a visa application.
Right. Now, at this stage, currently, which states open for these state sponsorships?
Yes. I would have to mention that though we talk about states, the processes in each of the states are different.
Right.
How to apply, when to apply, and so forth. So when we say opening at the beginning of the financial year, which now is October, is about 3 months, they have decided, okay, they are ready with the quotas, they are ready with the occupation list. At the moment, Queensland, Victoria, Tasmania and the ACT, that's Australian Capital Territory, they are now open for state sponsorship applications.
Right. Now, can an applicant apply at the same time, apply for 2 different states for the state sponsorships or one at a time?
No, they can. They can. The state sponsorship has 2 different visa categories. Right. One we call it the 190 state sponsored permanent resident application. The other visa category is called the 491, and that is a regional sponsorship. The difference in these two is that the 190 is a direct permanent resident visa, but the 491 is a provisional visa on a promise that they are given a 5-year visa, that 3 years they would be in regional Australia, not necessarily in the state that was sponsored.
Right, okay. But it has to be in a regional area in any state.
Yes, once you get this visa, the 491, you could stay in any regional area, work, the children can go to study, live, but everything has to be in regional Australia. Roughly what we believe in regional Australia is, other than Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane and the suburbs around, all other areas are considered regional.
Right, okay. Now, how do people apply for these state sponsorships?
Tushara, as I said, the process is very different. First and foremost, like any other general skill migration application, you need to have your skills assessed. You need to determine what occupation. You need to have your English. You need to have your 65 points. Now, for a 190, the state government also gives 5 points. And for the 491, the state government gives 15 points. The process is that, as I said, it is different, but you need to lodge an expression of interest with the federal government, and we need to lodge a register of interest with that particular state and nominate whether you're interested in a 190 visa or a 491 visa, but not both.
But not both, okay. Now, when they apply for the state sponsorships, are there any conditions applicable for the candidates?
Yeah, the criteria again from state to state is different. Generally, it is open for offshore and onshore.
Right.
If you're talking about onshore, they prefer the candidates that they wish to sponsor are residing in that state,
right,
or in a regional area of that state. But for the offshore applicants, naturally that doesn't apply because they are offshore, but showing interest to come and settle down in their state.
Are there any specific requirements that they should fulfill? I'm talking about the offshore applicants.
Offshore applicants should be experienced, should have their English, should have the necessary points, but it's taken on the number of points that you have. So the higher the points, and depending on what occupation. Not all occupations are available from state to state. The list is different.
So just to clarify, so both categories 491 and 190 still operate based on the point system?
It is based on the point system, but the criteria whether you're going to be sponsored depends from state to state, of how many months you have been living in the state, are you working in your field of your occupation, and so forth. So it is very complex, and it's extremely important to have a good understanding of all the different state requirements to give yourself a better chance of invitation.
Right. Sanjay, I'm pretty sure that our viewers are curious about this state sponsorship option. So if they want to know more information about this, how they can contact you?
Yeah, they can contact me on the details given below, and I'm happy to assist them with whatever their requirements on the state sponsorship process.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing this valuable information to our viewers, Sanjay. And we hope to have you back in our Sri Lanka Morning Show program to discuss about another prevailing topic.
Thank you, Tushara, for having me today.
Sexy, turn it around. I said to do the good do. Let me see you get down. We can work it all night. Oi, 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 oi. Do the good do. Don't even try, don't even lie. Let the beat take you over. Let your hair go drop below. Now nothing matters. Wayne and spin all the way around. Up and down. up to get down. Up and up, full shots down. Let me do the good-do. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. Do the good-do. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. Oi, oi, oi. Do the good-do. What's up? We got a remix now, remix. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Lampada stare a